Incremental greetings. Today I want to share with you useful applications of the sorting criteria. You may have noticed that sorting criteria, if I go to learn sorting and sorting criteria, you have three parameters you can modify. So when this is useful to change and for what purpose? So let me expose different scenarios. The point is that there's no one single setting that works best at all times or for everyone. Look at this collection. That's a backup from weeks ago, so now I have 6,000 outstanding elements and 26,000 outstanding topics. This is huge. So let's pretend a more realistic case will be 500, something like that, right? And I want to enforce those items before I read more topics. And from those topics, I generate even more items. So I will be increasing overload. So what I do short term is I get proportion of topics very low. Not to zero, but very low. So let's say that for every 10 elements, 9 will be items, outstanding items, and 1 will be topics. You may not know that the official documentation suggests, recommends 1 to 4. So for every item, outstanding item, you got 3 or 4 topics. So keep that in mind. And let's say that you want to mimic the behavior of Anki. That's especially useful if you use SuperMemo for college, high school, or exams that have deadlines. So what you want to do is to set this to none, proportion of topics. This means that when you start a new day with SuperMemo, you will get all the outstanding items, all of them. And until you don't finish all the outstanding items, you won't get the first outstanding topic. This will be equivalent in Anki to have first all the new cards. By default it's 20, and then you have the due cards. Due cards will be outstanding in SuperMemo. So if you want this behavior, you can achieve it like that. And we can actually see that. Now it's at the very bottom. So everything will be items, then topics. Okay, let's sort now. In my case, it's kind of slow because I have thousands. Okay, now if I go to view and outstanding, what order is that? I don't know exactly what order is this, but there's one setting. If I go to the context menu, then sort, look at the first option for review, or the shortcut Control S. So what will that do is to create a sort on the browser according to my current sorting criteria. So you will see that now all of the elements are items until I don't get the 6,000. Look at the number, 6,889 is the exact same number I have outstanding. And then I go with the topics, 23,000 outstanding topics. Nice. And look at the priority. It seems that it starts with the highest priority, but there's something off, right? Why is that 40? That 37, what's doing? Well, that is because another setting. If you go back to the sorting criteria, prioritized items and elements, you have the same parameter for topics and items separately. So what I will do now is that I want the items, I will leave it like that, and topics will be 100% prioritized. And here will be 100% randomized. So as if SuperMemo had no priorities whatsoever. So just for the example, I will put this to maximum. And I will sort it again. Now I just do Control S. I don't need the menu. And now the sort is according to the sorting criteria. So I first have the items. Let me go to the 6,000 something. Here it is. So now what happens is that all the topics are ordered strictly by priority. As you can see from the highest. Remember that the highest is 0. To the lowest will be 100%, or the closest thing I have on outstanding. Nice. I want the items, but with some degree of randomization. That's actually good. And then if I have time to do some topics today, I want the highest priority possible because of everything that is outstanding. I will just do a few. 3, 4, 5, something like that, if I do any, right? So that's pretty good. Now let's do one other example. is, let's say that I have been investing little time with SuperMemo, so I have the outstanding queue is very little with items. So what I could do is I want to interleave with lots of topics, but I want to keep interleaving. If I have an outstanding queue of just 5, let's say 10 items, if I set it in the middle, if I do 10 repetitions on topics, I will empty my outstanding queue for items. So I won't be able to interleave more. So you can actually increase this. And now I will do just the opposite for the sake of the example. So the topics will be extremely randomized, but not at the maximum. And the items will be the opposite. Will be almost always prioritized with little fuzziness, with randomization. So let's sort this. Now if I go to outstanding, Control S, nice. So now I get one item for every 4 topics. Item, 4 or 5 topics, item, and so on, right? Good. So I can stretch how many topics I want for each item. So if you, let's say you only want 2 topics, to interleave with 2 topics, you will go to sorting criteria and decrease these. So just to reinforce how to interpret this parameter, is at the right would be topics, and at the left will be items. So the less proportion of topics is implying greater proportion of items. So if I want more items, I have to decrease the proportion of topics, if this makes sense. It's saying the same with a different perspective, but it's the same thing. And also notice the priorities for items. Look at the item, extremely high. The second item, extremely high, 0.06, 0.06, 0.06. So I'm interleaving items that are very high priority, even if the topics I'm interleaving are extremely random. It happens that those are very high, but if we keep going, look at this. I have topics from ranging all colors, all different zones of priorities. So I will suggest to use, I actually use that, not with the outstanding queue that large. When I'm getting, like, say, bored or in a loophole that I did intensively, I did a lot of extracts of English or philosophy, and what will happen short term, that the following days I will be having lots of English items or philosophy items, and it's overwhelmingly, it's like making a monopoly of the theme of the outstanding queue. So it's very hard to micro-interleave, because I will be getting lots of related items with the same concept. So, long story short, if I did this because I had high lentropy, and I want to do this, and I do like 20 cards or 50 cards of the same topic on the same day, what I will do later on is modifying my sorting criteria so I can interleave with different priorities. And what will happen with different priorities is that I will have increase the chances of serendipity. Is, now I wouldn't search for that, but now that I see it, let's get one example. And let's pretend this shows up. Is, I have never looked for this, but now that it pops up on the reps, is, the pressure and memory. Now I'm onto this, and I am adding new things on my daily session, because you want to achieve the highest entropy every day, right? So when this is decreasing, you can, let's say, recycle what's in your collection to rediscover topics on your collection. So you are always have high and lows, but those high and lows in entropy are overlapping. So overall, you will be getting always highs very, very consistently across time. So you could use the sorting criteria for that. And just one last thing is that if you don't want to do this, mess around with the sorting criteria, you can bypass it. So let's say that I want to do all the items, but only today, only now, this session. I don't care about tomorrow. There's another way to do it. You just go to View, Outstanding. You just filter the elements that are items, and you start a subset review. In this case, it's by priority. but it's not, perhaps you don't want priority. You can actually randomize this. You go to this, randomize browser, and voila, you get 100% randomization. This would be somewhat similar with the setting of items like this, 100% random. But you don't mess around with the sorting criteria. It's just a subset, and you can quit the subset whenever you want to. So it's extremely easy to do an undo. And if, let's say that it's the opposite, you had the sorting criteria in a different setting, and you want priorities, you just click the header of priorities and start learning. As easy as that. Or you want to keep this any order you want, like the tree order, and voila. Or the last rep and so on, use every other setting. You just click the header or just go to sort and use the sorting criteria you want to use. And same for topics. If you don't want items, you can go to views, outstanding, filter the topics, and do, I don't know, whatever you may want. As easy as that.